For me, career success, it looks like a happy client. I started my own business not because I needed more money or wanted more money. It was so that I could help people in need. For me, success is building a reputation built on trust, quality, and real relationships. And I really want to help my clients to make their dreams come true. One of the things that Humber was super great at was they had teachers who had industry experience. They could bring all of that knowledge and real world application into the classroom with us. So it wasn't just, here's your book, read through it, try to understand it. It was, here, physically touch this or hold this, or let's go to a place that's under construction and physically see how things are being built. The collaboration aspects with Humber is probably one of the best things that helped me moving forward. You know, there was always projects that you had to do with other people, which really, really mirrored life outside of school, because you're always having to communicate and collaborate with other designers, architects, engineers, the clients, inspectors, municipalities. It's way more collaborative than I thought it was going to be. I worked for the municipality of Port Hope as a building official. So because it was a smaller municipality, you did everything from permit intake to plans examination, as well as the inspections. And because we were a smaller municipality, there weren't very many of us. So you worked on every project from residential to commercial to institutional, which was absolutely amazing. It really gave me a lot of insight into that specific job, because I wasn't put into like a little basket of just reviewing one thing all the time. Every day was different and it was awesome. And then I switched to start working for the city of Pickering as a plans examiner, which it's a bigger municipality. So I was only doing Part 9 plans examination. So a little more niche than what I was used to. And I didn't have to do any inspections either. It was just strictly plans examination. So it was both jobs, like super fun. I absolutely love it. Never be afraid to ask questions. In your head, they may sound silly, but they're not. Trust me. When I first graduated, I asked tons of silly questions from my supervisors, and that's one of the things that has helped me grow in my industry, but also as a person. And it's really, really helped me to get to where I am today. So my business is 729 Design. It is a residential design firm. We do drawings for people who need permits for additions, renovations, decks, garages, pretty much anything you could think of that would require a building permit, we can do a drawing for. I've always loved architecture, even since I was a child. In the job that I was working, I noticed there was a lot of people that would come in and they wanted small, simple decks. But other designers were quoting them thousands of dollars to get these drawings done, and then they would just try to do them themselves, and it was just a complete nightmare. And I'm sitting there like, I know how to do these things and I could totally help them. When I approach a design, I look at it mainly from a functionality standpoint, a little bit more than a design standpoint. The functionality is so important, and most people don't care about that. They just care about how it looks like at the end. However, if you design a space that is truly functional for you and for your life, the design at the end of the day is going to look amazing, and it's going to be exactly what you wanted. When I first got out of school, accessibility, sustainability, and functionality, they were kind of just add-ons, what you could add into a design. Nowadays, especially with sustainability and accessibility, those have improved greatly, and all three items are they're the foundation of a really good design now. So accessibility It's so that you can design a space that works for everyone, no matter their age or their ability. It also allows people to stay in their house a lot longer, which is really nice. With sustainability, it's not just about things looking good. It's also about helping our environment for our future, but it's also about having materials that provide longevity. So they're going to last. They're not going to break down in a couple of years. And functionality, like I said previously, if it doesn't work for your lifestyle, then you've kind of failed your purpose. So the space that you're designing has to function well for you and for your life. Home inspections are so important. And there are so many clients that I have who did not get a home inspection, and they're finding that things are going wrong, and now they're having to do a lot of renovations in order to fix things that they would have otherwise caught. A lot of the mistakes are from people trying to get things done too quickly, cutting corners, trying to save money, using cheaper materials. One of the biggest things that I see is poor water management. So not having proper flashing, not sealing windows and doors, not having proper grading. All of that can lead to some pretty disastrous consequences over time. One of the biggest tips that I would say for homeowners, if you're planning on doing any sort of design, is to plan ahead. What I find is a lot of people want to renovate their house for today, but then they don't necessarily think about the future. You know, kids get older, your parents get older, they may have to come live with you, your hobbies may change or evolve. So you also have to think about, what is it that will work for me today, but will also work for me in 5, 10, 15 years? And then that way you won't have to, redo what you just paid a bunch of money to get done, and it'll last. One of the things that hands down no one ever thinks about when they're doing a renovation or anything is the lighting. It can completely make or break a space. You have to think about your natural lighting from the windows, but then also your artificial lighting. You could have too much of it, you can have not enough of it. It completely sets the mood. And it's definitely one thing that I find most homeowners and contractors completely just gloss over. And it's definitely something that people should consider more. I could probably watch the HGTV network all day long, and the Magnolia Network. Chip and Joanna Gaines is probably one of my favorite shows, just because they are such a good team. And that show, it really shows you the design all the way through construction. It doesn't really skip any steps. They also really help with people doing DIY projects, kind of making it a little more accessible to people. So I definitely love watching. I could sit there all day long just watching people build things. For me personally, it's definitely being a woman in my industry is the biggest challenge. My industry is still very male dominated. So there would be times where I would walk on site and people would think that I was in the wrong place or I was just the assistant. Meanwhile, I was the building official coming to inspect their home. To push through it, basically, I knew what I was talking about. I had the technical skills. I had the knowledge. I knew what was and was not correct. And I didn't let people push me around. They either asked me for advice and I would give it to them, and I would tell them, this is what you need to do in order to meet code. And if you don't like it, here's the book, basically. And over time, with, just being resilient and being confident in my own ability, a lot of people started to understand and they started to respect me. And it just goes to show that, just be confident in who you are and your abilities, and within time, everything will fall into place. I knew from a very young age that this is what I wanted to do, and no one was going to stop me. I'm Nicole Maurer. I took architectural technology, graduating in 2015. I am the owner and designer of 729 Design and a plans examiner with the City of Pickering. Thank you so much for watching.